So they needed miracle weapons or new technologies. So there's clear evidence that some Nazis, scientists and engineers, experimented with things that might look like flying saucers.
One of the scientists who it's claimed worked on this recovered alien technology was Victor Schauberger, and he is an Austrian inventor who many believe was really a pioneer in the field of anti-gravity.
Stories passed down since the war suggest that Schauberger's most ambitious development for the Nazi war effort was a revolutionary aircraft called the Hanbu.
There's a lot of mystique about Schauberger's work, but it is entirely possible, and I think likely, that he developed disc-shaped airframes for the Reich as experimental devices.
Victor Schauberger was the person pivotal to the whole Hanbu program. And he was the one designing this, he was the one trying to figure out how to construct a prototype, he was the one who would ultimately have to answer to Hitler himself on, are any of these projects ready for operational deployment? Huge pressure on him to come up with the goods and deliver.
Germany had an incredibly advanced scientific infrastructure, obviously, and an equally advanced industrial infrastructure to accommodate some of the most incredible scientific research of the mid-20th century.
To expedite Schauberger's project, the Nazis gather workers from concentration camps.
He was told, we're going to give you slave labor. We don't care what happens to them. Because a lot of the stuff that Schauberger was working with involved radiation, mercury, and people would get poisoned. So they said, well, go ahead. You've got all these free laborers. We'd like to see what you can do with that.
At the heart of the radical design for the Hanbu is a propulsion system called the repulsine that would, in theory, allow the craft not only to hover, but maneuver through the air in almost any direction.
Some people say that it was powered by some sort of manipulation of magnetic fields. But others go further and say, actually, there was an anti-gravity device.
It's been reported that the Nazis had developed two craft, the Hanbu 1 and the Hanbu 2, stood about 82 feet high. These were massive craft capable of taking up to 20 people up into the air, maybe even into space. But they also were shaped like the classic shaped disc UFOs.
They wanted to create anti-gravity craft that could be used in the war against the West. To us, this is kind of unusual and something we would never even bother to try. But guys like Schauberger decided we're going to try everything.
But if Schauberger really designed and built a flying saucer, where's the proof? Some answers come in 1945, after the war, when the U.S. military discovers secret Nazi archives. And what they find proves shocking. Documents confirm that Victor Schauberger had, in fact, developed designs for not one, but three working versions of the Hanbu spacecraft. Documents even claim that the Hanbu could achieve speeds of 1,200 miles per hour, far beyond the limits of flight at that time. And years later, hard evidence has come to light. Seen here for the first time on national television, footage of what appears to be a Hanbu saucer's test flight in 1939. Von Spearing, a visual analysis expert for the Mutual UFO Network, studied the film.
What we're looking at here is the purported flight of a Nazi aircraft called the Hanbu, but why would they be doing it in a populated area such as seen in this film? We don't know. It's difficult to say where this film came from. Whether or not this film is legitimate is subject to doubt, but there are certain things about the film which suggest that it might be real. You can see emulsion flakes coming off the film, which suggests that it was 16mm film as opposed to it being a modern video. We know the Nazis were experimenting with craft of this shape back then, and from all intents and purposes, the age of the film is probably about 1939 vintage. and this could be an experimental aircraft being filmed in Nazi Germany at the time. So it is possible that this is a legitimate film.
Did the Nazis get their hands on something literally from out of this world and give us a technology that was perhaps not just hundreds but maybe thousands of years ahead of anything that we have even now? All of this raises the question, could this story of this UFO crash in 1936 in the Black Forest be true? Might that be where the Nazis acquired these ideas and this prototype technology?
I mean, you have to scratch your head and think, how in the world did we even win the war? It appears that this may have been the first time that our military has faced advanced technology that could be of alien origin.
Though many researchers are convinced that Schauberger's work likely benefited from extraterrestrial technology, there are stranger theories floating around of an even deeper connection to an alien intelligence.
Now, it's well known that the Nazis were attempting to channel information from spirit beings, and they were trying to communicate with extraterrestrials.
Schauberger said that he was in sort of a supernatural communication with higher beings that gave him these ideas. He said these ideas were not his, they actually came from a higher source. He used all these different influences to help inspire and create his revolutionary inventions.
It sounds far-fetched, but the evidence may have manifested itself in the skies above Nazi Germany. Coming up.
One of the great mysteries of World War II revolves around Foo Fighters, variously described as balls of light, often seen in close vicinity of aircraft.
The Allied command really didn't know what they were dealing with.
This beer looks just like beer. But what if we told you its recipe is over 100 years old? Created in Mexico by a German brewmaster. It's not just any beer now, is it? Dos Equis, the most interesting beer. Hello again, Mikey.
Life, she won't eat anything healthy.